Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, The 5 Numbers Every Listing Agent Needs to Know with MAPS coaches Alexis Weigand and Emily Baker. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available within 24 hours on the MAPS Group YouTube channel. You may access the YouTube channel from your Zoom confirmation email, and we will share the link in the chat momentarily. Currently, everyone is on mute. We do value group participation, so we ask that if you have any questions for your coach, please type them into the chat box located in the taskbar at the bottom of your screen. Your questions will be addressed by your coaches throughout your webinar. Following the meeting, if you have any questions about today's call or coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack, FASTTRACK @kw.com. That's all for me. Alexis and Emily, take it away.
Thanks, Graham. All right, welcome everyone. I'm your MAPS coach, Alexis Weigand in San Antonio, Texas, and I've got my partner, Emily Baker here from Missouri. And today we are going over the 5, not 10, but 5 numbers every listing agent needs to know. So I am still very much in production, and Emily coaches only a select few of the top listing agents and teams in Gary's top 100. So we intend on bringing you all a ton of value. We're going to chunk everything down, give you visuals. All right, so welcome. Emily, you want to kick us off?
Yes. Hey, everyone. So the first thing when we're pulling numbers that we want to notate is whether you're pulling numbers for 7 days, the last 14 days, or the last 30 days, we want to be consistent. So select a date range that you're going to pull these numbers from and then pull them every single week consistently. So for example, the number of price reductions is the first number that every listing agent should be pulling. You may think number of price reductions, that seems weird for a listing agent to pull. And yet what price reductions is it's a leading indicator to our market, right? 90 days ago, how many price reductions were you guys seeing in your market, right? Today, how many price reductions are we seeing in our markets? What goes up must come down. We've had the strongest real estate market that we've ever seen. So we do know that a market correction is going to happen. Now it's hitting markets differently, obviously based on geographically where you're at. Sometimes it's hitting price points differently, but it's really important to have a gauge on the number of price reductions, because what price reductions does is it drives sense of urgency to a seller. So for example, if a seller is looking to wait until spring, how many of you are hearing that? Type in the chat, shake your head yes, right? I want to wait until spring. I want to see what the market does. Yep, I'm hearing it too. So when they say that, you can use this and you can say, well, just out of curiosity, what's more important to you, making the most amount of money or the convenience in terms of the sale? And for most sellers, can we agree that money is the most important thing?
Yep.
Yeah. So what we would say then, based on price reductions, is we would say, 90 days ago, there were 0 properties, that were getting price reduced. There was 0, there weren't these price reductions happening in our market. Just last week, we saw 43 price reductions, or in the last 14 days, we've had over 100 price reductions. What that is it's a leading indicator that the market is going to correct itself. If you wait until spring, you could potentially lose tens of thousands of dollars should the market do that. Is that a risk you're really willing to take? So what we're doing is we're taking the data and the facts and we're trumping the feelings of the market. Gary always says, be the market expert, right? Know your numbers, know your data. The price reduction is the leading indicator. The second number is also a leading indicator to a shift or market correction, and that's the number of expireds and cancels in your market. Again, 90 days ago, what wasn't expired 90 days ago, right? Where were they? There weren't any, right? Unless the house was just terrible. And so from there, what's not selling? Where are we seeing trends? What are we seeing with numbers? And you can do the same thing that we just talked about, which is, 90 days ago, there were no houses coming off of the market. And yet in the last 7 days or the last 14 days, we've had 19 properties come off of the market.
Hey,
Meaning they
Emily.
didn't sell. Yes.
We've had a couple questions on how often are we pulling this, like how far back, and then the size of the area. So for those of you guys who haven't been looking at the chat channel, we obviously want you guys to ask questions and engage. So thank you all for posting those. I would typically go back just a week for price reductions, right? You keep hearing this in Emily's language of just in this last week. And that's indicative of how far back we go. And what's really neat is if you go into your KW app, they have this very easy to access map, and you can pull it from wherever you're sitting at a listing appointment. And it says, I think in the last 7 days, and it'll show all of the new price reductions. So we use that in our listing appointments, and that's always really strong. And then the second question was area. You know, when we're prepping for a listing appointment, I like to go as there's no right or wrong, but the smaller and more relevant to the seller, the more believable it is, right? If you pull this really large area, they have a tendency to say, well, gosh, that's not really my area. But if you can do it by zip code, or if you do it on subdivision, that is absolutely their area, and that's relevant.
That's exactly right. Yes, if you have a target area that you guys specialize in, what I recommend is update your hot sheet if you can. Some MLS will give you privileges to update your hot sheet to that target area, or just create a search for yourself. Make it as simple as possible, right? Create a search for yourself, and then you have these, and then you can sort by, just checking, on your MLS, active, sold, price changes, that kind of stuff. So you can see these numbers and then put it on your calendar, because we know if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist, for every single Monday that you're looking at these numbers, such that you're using these in your lead generation and lead conversion conversations, as well as your appointments that you're going on. So expireds and canceled, same thing. It also gives you what the opportunities are in the market. Obviously, as listing agents, we want to take market share, right? So what are the potential opportunities in our market for listing opportunities as well? And the third one is the number of pendings. Now, this is the kicker to the conversation that I just gave you guys. We are all in strong markets. Can we agree?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm seeing some blank stares. Yes, you're in a strong market. Okay. I've yet to see a market that's gone soft. So we're all in strong markets. So when you give those numbers, the goal is not to scare the seller. The goal is not to say it's not the best time to sell, because again, we've been in the strongest market we've ever seen, right, in history. The goal is to say, and while we've had this number of price reductions and this number of expireds, we've also in the last 7 days in our area put 268 properties under contract, which means that the market's still strong. The market's still going. It's now just a timing game. Do you really want to wait? We don't know. All we know are facts, right? None of us have crystal balls. We're not genies. We don't have superpowers. So all we know is the data, and we can only make projections based on the data, and history repeats itself, right? Not saying there's going to be a crash, but we've got to make sure that we're communicating with them that the market is still strong. The number of pendings are still exceeding the expireds and canceled and price reductions. And yet these are leading indicators that their equity could be potentially on the line. Next is the number of actives. What's their competition like? How many properties are coming on the market, right? We want to know that. They need to know that the market is still moving. Again, you see how we're kind of sandwiching this, you guys. We kind of start with like, this is the leading indicators of the pricing correction. And now we're solidifying the faith in the market that it's still strong, right? We're still seeing pendings. We're still seeing actives, because again, how many of you have heard from a seller, well, Emily, I would buy or I would sell, but I just am not really seeing anything on the market worth moving for. You guys hear that? Okay, this is the number that gives them the faith that the market is still active. Traditional real estate is still happening. There are still hundreds of properties coming on the market every single day in some of your markets, right? So when they know that and when they see the data, it's now no longer a feeling, it's a fact. It's a fact of the market, and you're not just coming in there talking to them about their hopes and dreams. You're talking to them about reality such that they make the best educated decision for themselves and their situation moving forward. So pendings and actives are those faith numbers that, again, give people clarity on what the market is doing right now. How do you communicate this with a seller? So Alexis, let's talk about this visual.
Yeah. So the one on the left, internal, I wanted you all to see this just because we have a virtual assistant on our team that tracks this. They pull it from MLS every single week. And all that is the image under client facing, that's a screenshot from our MLS. You know, everyone's looks a little different, and I'm going to trust that y'all have something pretty similar. So what this does is in the last 30 days on our MLS, it shows us how many, and we define the area, right? So this is for my zip code that I farm. So we have top market share in a zip code. We like to know our numbers weekly in that zip code. It happens to be the place where I live as well. So you can see we've got 193 new, 15 expired, not price change, 94, sold 225, pending 174. You know, when we throw these numbers out to people, especially verbally without a visual, they tend to kind of just pass from one ear to the next and they don't absorb it. And so I created what I'm going to encourage you guys to do is just track these numbers weekly. So the internal one, if you look at it, there's a percentage on there. So now we can talk to the client and say, hey, if you look at sold, right, 30% of the market sold. And this is in the last week or from the last 30 days, right? But it's tracked weekly. And then price change, 14% of the market saw a price change. 27% went pending. 27% went new to the market. So if you take the price change at 14% and the new to the market at 27%, what is that? 41%. That's almost, let's just round it for, almost when you're talking to a seller, you're saying, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you're trying to ascertain who the right agent is to net you the most amount of money on your property. And really, how are they going to get you into the 27% of the market that's actually selling? Because every single week, another 27% of the inventory comes on new. Okay, so this just I think it gives perspective when we talk in percentages versus numbers, because depending on how big of an area you're pulling, these numbers can get very large. And if you don't have something to compare against, it might not mean as much. So we can talk about, hey, because I don't know about y'all, but sellers are referencing really high prices that we had in June and July sales. And so I can go back on this sheet even and say, gosh, new to the market, look at this. We had 37% of the market was brand new every week. Now it's 27%. Okay. And then I can see, well, we had 185 new properties hit this last week. In July, we had almost 300. It's in the high 280s. And so then that enables us to have a conversation around, if you're selling in this fourth quarter, first quarter, when there's low inventory, it a lot of times will net them a higher price because they have less competition. So when we start and we ask what's more important from the sale, is it price or is it convenience? And if they say, well, it's money, then we now can show them facts and data and say, well, if you sell now, you have less competition. We can net you a higher price versus if you wait, you're going to have more competition and you may have to sell at a lower price. So I think that this really just, it's screenshots and It takes maybe 1 minute once a week and just a very simple Google or Excel spreadsheet to be able to give you and your client perspective.
Most people are visual learners too, right? So when you're talking about numbers, sometimes unless they're a high C on the personality disc scale, sometimes it can be overwhelming or just kind of go over people's head. So having a visual really locks it in for people too, to really interpret what it is that you're saying and communicating. And sharing this on social media, right? So what is the message of the market? Again, if our goal is to be the market expert, when people think of real estate, when people think of the person who knows the market or real estate better than anyone else, who are they thinking of? It's a lot of what we're communicating. It's what we're outputting to our audience. So on social media, posting a weekly market snapshot of what's happening in the market, such that, when you have your sphere of influence or your past clients or current clients, or family and friends, they're seeing what's going on, and that can create curiosity, because again, they may not know how to interpret this, right? So this can also breed questions of, hey, I saw that you posted this, we're thinking about doing something in the next year. What are you seeing?
Yep, that's exactly right. You'll notice on the social media slide as well, we're not posting number of price reductions, number of expireds, pendings, actives, right? That we save for our face-to-face conversation with the listing client. This is more of something very, I'm gonna say just very basic. It's month supply, average price for us. Average price per square foot. We have a lot of conversations around price per square foot in our area. So I would just pick 2 or 3 things that are very simple concepts for you to put on social media.
The fifth number, so we've gone through price reductions, number of expireds canceled, number of pendings, number of actives. The fifth number is your average sales price last year comparative to your average sales price this year. What's happened in the last 12 months with sales prices, guys?
They've gone up. We got a pay raise. Thank you.
Yes, that's exactly right. They've gone up. They've gone up an astronomical amount as well over what the year-over-year trend averages are, right? So now we're talking about appreciation. So when Alexis mentioned earlier, some people are thinking, well, gosh, I mean, my neighbor sold over the summer at this price, right? And maybe the market is correcting. Maybe the price no longer supports that. The demand no longer supports that. What the sellers have to realize is that last year, our average sales price was this. This year, it's this. Meaning you're still getting record-breaking numbers in your market. What goes up must come down. We're starting to see the leading corrections. It takes 7 to 10 years for the market to cycle through. Are you willing to wait another 7 to 10 years for the market to maybe get back to those prices again?
That's right.
And when we talk about sales price, it's important for them to realize the appreciation averages year over year, that what we saw in the last 18 months is not normal, right? And it's also, as an agent, it's not your fault that they didn't capitalize. And yet it's our job to educate them that the numbers that they can still get would be record-breaking comparative to last year. And if the goal is to make the most amount of money, what are we really waiting for?
Emily, I shot a video with my son. So you guys that have young kids or children at home, I'm going to encourage you. It was one of the most watched videos of my entire year that we put out to our database. And it was on this exact slide. We just said, and I quizzed my son. We prepped, of course, ahead of time. And he's 10 and he's in 5th grade. And on the video, he just said, he educated the audience that our average price point was $450,000 last year. and that it had gone up, I believe it was 22% in the last 12 months. And I said, that's right. And so if you are a seller in our area, how much equity did you gain? And he said $100,000. And I said, that's right. Right. So just doing a really powerful video yourself or bring your kids in for this alone is, I think, really impactful right now, because at least in our market, traditionally, we have an appreciation rate of 3 to 4% year over year, right? It's very stable and steady. So for us to have had 20+% appreciation in the last 12 months, it makes you look like you know your numbers and you're the expert, which is exactly what we're coaching on today. And 2, you can very quickly do an analysis and go, gosh, if you bought your house, right, 2, 3, 4 years ago, you know the appreciation rate of those previous years. And then you add on, like for our market, that 22%, that's what the market's going to yield for a sales price. So we do this math with the client, and then we show them the validation of it on a market analysis. But I think this is one of my favorite slides for you all to verbalize with your database and on social media.
Yeah, I love that.
Anything else you'd add, Emily?
What questions do you guys have around these numbers? Post any questions that you have in the chat.
We've got 7 minutes and we just need a couple minutes to be able to close it out. So we've got about 5 minutes to answer any questions you all might have. I know there were some, and if you'll post those in the chat channel for us. I know there's been some questions on how big of an area. We don't pull the entire MLS. We pull the, like I said, for my area, we've got about 2,000 homes in our zip code. Yep. Emily, you want to talk about how big or small of an area you coach your teams to pull these numbers on?
So target market. So whatever target market, meaning whatever area that you are targeting to do more business in, meaning you like that area. That's the key, right? I want to do more business because I like the area. There is the attrition rate, right? People are moving in and out, right? It is a hot area. There are buyer needs in that area, right? Those and you know the area. Those are the areas that you're going to pull, and yet you are going to sometimes need to custom pull for some of these, right? Because a lot of us service some larger areas. So you may need to pull it before a listing appointment. But overall, just wherever your target market is, yes, you can use a zip code. I have teams that use zip codes, cities, counties, school districts, that like anything like that you guys are micro focusing on, that's where you're going to do that. And in the MLS, you can actually find this just by searching. Just pull a search for yourself, just like you were pulling a search for a buyer. And you can just search like expires and change the dates, and it'll tell you the number and the results that pull up. A lot of you have hot sheets right when you log into your MLS, and the hot sheet's going to go right there as well.
Emily,
oh, go ahead.
Emily Colvin asked where you can see the video made with my son. My director of ops is on this call. Lauren, I don't know if you can post that, or can they just go to our YouTube channel? It's if you Google Alexis Weigand Real Estate, San Antonio, Texas, that should pop up for you. Anything else? And then yes, Lauren says search on Facebook or Instagram because it was posted there as well. All right, so it is 1:55. We just want to say how grateful we are for all of you plugging in and learning the 5 most important numbers that every listing agent should know. Emily, you want to talk to them about what we have coming up soon?
Yes. So we are super excited. We coach the MAPS group coaching program, the Mega Listing Agent. So for those of you who are really intentional and focused on listings, or maybe next year you're looking to grow your listing business, we are launching January 5th. So right first quarter, best time to stack up those listings. We know it's a lot easier to hit our goals when we come out of the gate swinging in Q1, right? We even learned that in sports. So we are, the time is 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time every Wednesday. It's $500. There are 2 installments, of $250 per month. So in January and February, you'll be billed $250. We've got 9 sessions. So it will be for 9 weeks. It's an hour for 9 weeks. And guys, we go through listings from start to finish. So the thing that Alexis and I are really intentional about when we built this course is how to stack the information in consecutive order to growing a mega listing agent business. So we start right from identifying your target market to the top listing lead generation strategies and how to capitalize on marketing and prospecting, to truly how to pre-qual, what a ultimate pre-list process is, how to, convert 85% or more of the listing consultations that you're going on. How should I framework? What should I bring? What should I do? What's the scripting? What do I say? To the top objection handlers that we're all getting. Those of you who are listing agents, we are getting hammered with objections, right? The competition is fierce, from commission cutting to interviewing to, you guys don't really do anything. The market's so great. It doesn't even matter. You all say the same thing. So we go through value proposition and how to build that for yourself, such that ultimately, when someone's thinking about listing their home, you're not the first call, you're the only call. You are that expert for them. To negotiation tactics for listing agents, to systems and processes and marketing, and wrapping it up to how to create that client for life. So we are so excited about this course. We have had a lot of fun and have experienced a lot of growth this year with a lot of our clients that have already taken the course, and we have revamped it, and we are excited to come back. So if you have questions, email maps@kw.com, or if you want to register, you can either register at mapscoaching.com, or you can go to the megalistingagent.com and sign up. And yes, all the meetings are on Wednesdays from 1:30 to 2:30. And here's the great thing, guys. Every single session is recorded and available for playback from 60 days after the 9-week session ends. So you will literally get this course for about 4 months. So you will have access to every recording, every playbook. We'll give you visuals, playbook, examples, checklists, all of it. So we're so excited. And we've poured a lot of energy into this. So we hope to see you all in January. And next week, we're going to go through seller objections. So if you haven't registered for our seller objections, register, because we're going to be back on a MAPS promo going through seller objections. And then we also have a pre-qual pre-list one coming up as well.
Yep. All right, guys, it is 2:00. So thank you so much for joining us. See you soon.
Bye, everyone.